Boker Tov, Shavua Tov, Chodesh Tov. We are at the bottom of Chaf Bet Amud Bet 22b, 2 lines up from the bottom. Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon beRebi. Rabbi Shimon, the son of Rebi. Havale Nidra, he had a neder. Lemishra, he wanted to open up. He had a neder that he wanted to get undone. Atad Kamau de Rabbanan. He went to the rabbis. Amrile Nadarta Adata Dehachi. So they tried finding an opening for him. So they said, "Did you make a neder with this in mind?" Amarin. He said, "Yeah, I did have that in mind also." Adata Dehachi. Did you have this in mind? He says, "Yes." Kama Zimnin. Many times they tried getting him out of the neder. But he was saying, no, I actually had that in mind. So they couldn't find any way to get him out of the neder. Vehavu mitztari rabbanan. And the rabbis were in pain, were bothered. They wanted to get him out. They couldn't find a situation to get him out. And so the top line now, Chav Gimel Amud Aleph, Vehavu mitztari rabbanan mishimsha letula umitula l'shimsha. They were going from the sun to the shade to the sun. They were pacing in and out. They were figuring out how is Rabbi Shimon by Rabbi. We want to get him out of this neder. We know it's a difficult situation for him, whatever it is, and it's just we can't find a way out for him. And so it wasn't working out. And they were pacing back and forth. And we skipped the brackets. Amar le Batnit bered de Abba Shaul. Botnit seems it's a guy's name, but Botnim is peanuts. I don't know. Botnit is like mini female peanut, maybe in Hebrew. But Botnit was this person's name, a son of Abba Shaul. Amar le Botnit bered de Abba Shaul. Ben Botnit, who is the son of Botnit, named after his father. Mina darta adata de mitzari de Rabbanan. Did you make a neder with having in mind that you would maybe cause pain to the rabbis? Mitula de shimsha, mishimsha de tula, that they'd have to go in from the shade to the sun to the shade. Or did you have that in mind? Amar lo, he said, no, I didn't have that in mind. That I didn't know I'm going to cause so much pain to the rabbis. Visharyua, and they opened the neder based on that. They opened the neder based on that. So, if you take a look at the Ran on the left side, 2, 4, 5 lines down in the thin lines. It's a one-liner. Al da'ata de mitztari rabbanan, with in mind, did you have in mind that you might cause pain to the rabbis? V'hai lav noladhu de shchiach. And this case is not nolad, because it's common. So we explained last time, and we're going to talk about this today more. Nolad is something that was born later. So what it means is that at the time of, when it comes to that petach, when it comes to an opening for the neder that you made a neder in the year 2000, you come in 2001 to get rid of the neder, then when you made that neder in the year 2000, the options had to be there for the opening. I mean, if I would have known that then, and not something that was born later on. So someone might say, in this case, how would I have known that the rabbis are going to be in pain because of my neder? Like, that happened later on. They're going to walk from the sun to the shade to the sun. So the Ran is telling us it's not an issue of nolad, because it's common. It's common. You could have had it in mind that if the rabbis wouldn't have got to a solution, they would have been bothered. So that could have been in your mind even at the time of your, because it's something that you could imagine that's something common. So you could have had that in mind at the time of your neder, and you didn't have that in mind.
Unpresumable.
Yeah, totally meaning we take you back to the time of neder. Could you have had in mind that the Chachamim would have been in pain if they wouldn't have opened your neder when you come to? Yeah, I could have had that in mind. So therefore, that opens it up. Back to the Gemara. Rabbi Ishmael. 3, 6, 7 lines down. Rabbi Ishmael bar Rav Yossi. Rabbi Ishmael, the son of Rav Yossi. Havale nidra lemishra. He had a neder that he wanted to open up. Ata lekamayu de Rabbanan. He went in front of the rabbis. Amrule, they told him, Nadarta adata dehachi. Did you have this in mind? When you made the neder, did you have this in mind? Amar lehuin. He says, yes, I had that in mind. Nadarta adata dehachi. Did you have this in mind when you made your neder? Amar lehuin. He says, yes. Kama zimnin, many times. They asked him the same question, and they couldn't find an opening for him. Kevan de chaza, hahu katzra. So when chazon to see, hahu katzra. Katzra is there's a Likutei Rashi. Oh, katzra is a no. So that's not the katzra right now. That's the vessel of the katzra. We're going to see in a moment. The katzra is a launderer, a laundry guy. So this laundry guy was around over there, and he saw the mitztari rabbanan. He saw that the rabbis were in pain, based on they were troubled. They couldn't open up the neder of Rabbi Ishmael son of Rabbi Yossi. Machia beuchla de katzri. He hit him. This launder guy, this katzra, hit Rabbi Ishmael, the son of Rabbi Yossi, with his vessel, with the vessel of the washer people. And this is a vessel that has holes in it in order for that to put you put the clothing in it so that the water runs through it. Now we can show off the picture. There you go.
Wow.
With the holes, see there's holes in there. So it's like a bowl,
strainer.
Like a bowl, exactly. So they would wash clothing in that, and the water would go through. Thank you. So he took that thing. You don't want to get hit with that with the laundryman guy. So he hit Rabbi Ishmael, Rabbi Yossi with that.
So that would be something unpresumable.
So let's see. So Amar. So then now that he got hit, someone there, one of the rabbis said, Adata demachi le katzra. No, he said himself. Amar, he said, Adata demachi le katzra, with intention, in mind that this launderer guy was going to hit me. Lo nadra, I would have not made the neder. Vesharia lenafshe, and he opened up the neder for himself. Meaning, we explained before, it doesn't mean that now he could walk away from the neder, but that was an opening that he thought of himself that the rabbis agreed to. So the next question is, isn't it a nolad? Isn't it something that you didn't have in mind at the beginning? This is the one I was going to ask. Amar le Rav Acha midifti le Ravina. Rav Acha from Difti tells Ravina, Hai noladu. That's a case of nolad. De lo masik adate. He didn't have in mind de machile katzra, that the launderer guy is going to hit him. V'tanina, and we learned in the Mishnah, en potchin lo benolad. You can't open up a neder with nolad. The truth is, even though we're bringing this here, the actual Mishnah is much later on page Samech Dalet, 64. We're on page 23. So we've got a few more weeks till we get there. A few more weeks. So they told him, hey, we don't open with nolad. What's going on over here? You wouldn't have had in mind that this guy's going to come and hit you. How could you open up the neder like this? Amarle, he tells him back. Ravina tells Rav Acha from Difti back about the story. Hai lav noladu. This is not a case of nolad. Why? Tishchichi apikuri demitzari rabbanan. Unfortunately, it's common that people want to try embarrassing the rabbis. So therefore, like this, this guy was he was also, it was a rabbi, Rabbi Ishmael, the son of Rabbi Yossi, that came to get his neder undone, and he comes to the rabbis. Rabbis are in pain; they can't figure out something. The launderer sees, and he hits the guy, the rabbi Ishmael, who came to get his neder undone. Oh, if I would have known, I would have made it. I would not made the neder. And then Rav Acham Difti asks Ravina, "Hey, isn't that a case of nolad?" No, it's not nolad. You know why? Because people would find any excuse to hit a rabbi, so to embarrass a rabbi, and therefore And therefore, it's something that you could have had in mind. No, as a rabbi, yeah, there's some respect sometimes. You can't win either way. You can't win, right? So he says, so therefore, you could have had it in mind that other people. So like this. So I mean, a way to look at the story is that this launderer, he sees the other rabbis in pain. You could look, at first we were presenting the story that, he really came to the rescue of the rabbis that were in pain. So he hits the rabbi, come on, what's with you? Have a good neder, open up your neder already, right? We look at it like that. Rather, it's like, now I have an excuse. This guy's causing the rabbis, but let me give an excuse to give a good one to the rabbi, right? So therefore, you could have had in mind that, hey, sometimes people, unfortunately, they see an opportunity to hit a rabbi or to embarrass a rabbi, and then they go for that, unfortunately. Does anything any more on the side over there? On the word apikuri, I think it means embarrass, right? Mevazeh. Tishchichi apikuri de mitzar rebanan. Apikuri means like to embarrass. For the irreverent ones,
like Epicurus,
who vex the rabbis, are common. Irreverent. So reverent is someone that reveres, right? So those that don't revere, those that don't fear, don't fear.
Fundamental Torah principle.
They don't fear. I don't know what vex is. I mean,
upset.
Yeah, Rashi over here. There's a Likutei Rashi says mevazet tamid chachamim, to embarrass the rabbis. So it says number 8. There are many irreverent ones who will use the slightest pretext to vex a rabbi. Therefore, Rishmael should have anticipated that his own troubling of the rabbis would furnish a pretext for some irreverent one, like the launderer, to strike him. Yeah, that's what he said. According to the Rosh, however, the meaning seems to be that the launderer and others like him would strike the many irreverent ones who, like Rishmael, would vex the rabbis. The Rosh learns it the other way, that so the first explanation is the general explanation, as we mentioned, that this guy saw an opportunity to hit and embarrass rabbis, so he took it out on Rishmael. But the Rosh learns it in line with the rest of the story, with the regular way of the story, is that he sees Rishmael as bothering those rabbis, so he wants to kind of defend those rabbis, so he hits Rabbi Yishmael. So you should have known, this is like the Rosh looks at it as a good way, you, Rabbi Yishmael, should have known that there are people that defend rabbis, and therefore they would hit someone, because you're causing pain to these 3 rabbis, the Rabbanah, that you came to open your neder, you should know that people might come to defend rabbis. Because there are people that are embarrassing them, which is you, Rabbi Yishmael, are causing pain to them, there are people that are going to come hit based on that. That's what the Rosh says there. Interesting. That's a good way of looking at things. Okay. Gemara continues. We are 2 lines up in the thin lines. Dabitu de Abaye, the wife of Abaye. Havalea Hahi Barta. She had a daughter. Seems like she came into the marriage with already a daughter. Maybe it was his second marriage, whatever it was, but maybe it was his first marriage. So the wife of Abaye had a daughter. Dabitu de Abaye Havala Hahi Barta. Hu Amar Lekirvai, first wide line. He said, I want to give your daughter to my relatives, meaning to get married to my side of the family. I want to find a shidduch from my side of the family, someone from my family. He Amra Lekriva. She said, no, I want to find, I guess if she was a really good girl, whatever it was, she said, I want to find a shidduch from my side of the family. And the mother says, from my side. Amarla, Abaye is so adamant to find a guy from his side of the family. He tells his wife, Titzera hanaati alach, I am forbidding any pleasure from you, any hanaa, you're asur to me. I avart adatai, if you violate my my mind, if you violate my words, umin tsevat la lekirvach. Umin tsevat is marry to your family. He says to his wife, okay, I know you want to marry her off to someone in your family. I want someone to marry her off to my family. And therefore, Abaye tells his wife, if you violate my words and marry her off to someone from your family, we're done. You can't benefit from me. Azlat, she went. Ve'avart adate, and she went against his will. She went against Abaye over here. So it's not one of the rabbis that we never heard of before. This is Abaye, his wife. You know, it's like sometimes you hear a story of someone you never heard of, like botnit, whatever. You know, but here's Abaye. So she went against his word. Azlat ve'avart adate, ve'inseva lekriva, and she married off her daughter because he wasn't invited to the wedding. I don't know. She married off her daughter to someone from her family. Now Abaye is stuck. He forbade his wife to have any hana from him. Atala kemedir of Yosef. He, Abaye, his word spread. Abaye heard about his stepdaughter got married to someone from his wife's family. Atala kemedir of Yosef. He went to Rav Yosef. Amar le, and he told Rav Yosef, Ilu avayadat. If I would have known the avart al da'atach, that she went against my words, umin seva la lekriva, and she married off her daughter to someone from her family, mi adarta. So Rav Yosef tells him, if you would have known that she would have actually went against your words and married off someone from her family, would you have made the neder? Amar lo, he said no. Visharia Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef said, okay, so you're out of the neder. So the Gemara, what's the obvious question on this?
It kind of defeats the purpose of even making a neder.
That whole neder.
Right.
Right,
Because
exactly.
you already said
That's the whole-
I'm threatening her, but even if she goes against my threat, it doesn't really mean anything.
Exactly. That's exactly the question.
Right.
Because every other case of if you would have known is something else.
Right.
This is like if you would have known that she would have actually done it. Well, hello, that was your neder.
Right.
Your neder was don't do it. She did it. You can't get out of it because she did it. Find something else.
Right.
That's the Gemara asks. Umi shari ki gavna? Is this case allowed? Can we open up based on this case? That's the Gemara's ask. So says the Gemara, yes we can. Yes we can get out of this situation based on this. Rav Yosef, it works out. How? V'atanya, we have a braita to prove that you could get out of a neder if you would have known that she actually violated the neder. Let's see. V'atanya, the braita says, Maaseh be'adam echad, there was a story with a man. Shehidiret ishto milal l'regel. He made a neder on his wife, barring her from going to the Bet HaMikdash, to Ole Regel. Now she's obligated to go. But he says, you're not going. I make a neder, you can't go. Ve'avral da'ato. And she violates his words. Ve'alta l'regel. And she went to Yerushalayim. Uba lifnei Rabbi Yossi. He came to Rabbi Yossi. The husband came. He says, nah, I didn't think she would go. I didn't think she would violate my words. And she went. And now I guess I don't want to uphold the neder that I made on her. Maybe the same type of neder, like I don't want her benefiting from me, whatever it was. Uba lifnei Rabbi Yossi. And he came, the husband came to Rabbi Yossi. Amar lo. Rabbi Yossi tells him, V'yidu ha'ita yodea she'overt al da'atcha ve'oleh l'regel klum higdarta. If you would have known that she would have gone against your words and gone to the Ole Regel, would you have made the neder? Amar lo. He said, no, I would have not made the neder. V'yitir Rav Yossi. Rav Yossi allowed it. So you see, it works. But again, we don't have explanation. It's this exact same type of case.
Right. It's another if nether. So I thought we agreed that the if nethers, if you do this, I'll do that, they don't really hold.
What do you mean? It's an if neder?
Like if you say
On
something,
condition.
yeah, like on a condition.
Yeah, we said that before.
Yeah, we did say that. Is this a neder on condition?
Kind of is.
Yeah,
If
if
you-
you break my will, then
I will
I
not sleep with you.
Right.
That's what he says. In the
well,
first
you not
place.
benefit
Right.
from me.
Yeah, benefit, yeah.
No, financially you take
Any
take
benefit,
food
any-
or
No,
whatever.
that's what I understood.
Right. So you're saying this is an if neder. And therefore because... But
He doesn't
And
use
you
the
cannot
word
say
if.
that financial
Right.
benefit because you have to provide whatever you have to provide to your wife whatever the case.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a condition.
It doesn't sound like it doesn't like it is. He goes, you cannot go. It didn't say if you do. He just says you cannot go.
Yeah, you can't go. If you go,
Like he did say, I guess.
if you go, you're not benefiting from me. Is that a condition? That's every neder. Every neder has a consequence. No?
No, you can
Not
just
that
say,
way.
"I will not. I'm not.
I'm
Gonna
not
go
eating
into-
that.
I'm not eating that. I'm not going into the guy's house." You make it upon
Yeah, sure, it's a
yourself.
condition. He
So
says
the-
to her,
So Zev's comment is correct because
Right.
he's saying, "If you do this, then this is the consequence."
And the nether takes effect.
well, the truth is the second case was not an if, it was just, you can't go. Right. The first case, you're right. The first case was an if, was a condition, because if e avrat, right, the first wide line, the last second last word, if you violate my words, if you violate my words and you marry off your daughter to someone in your family, then you're not allowed to benefit from me. In the second case, it was like, don't go, you can't go to Ola Regel. There's no if. But okay, I hear the question. It seems that the Gemara is not addressing that as an issue, but the Gemara does want to compare this to the opening, meaning the opening of Rav Yossi is the same, in this latter case of, if you would have known she would have violated your words, would you have made the neder? He says no. And so then our question is, how does that work out? That's the whole neder. So let's look at the Ran over here. So let's go to Umi Shari Hachi, where we left off. It's from there. Umi Shari Hachi. Is this case allowed? So what's the Gemara? The Ran's gonna explain the Gemara's question. Klomar, Mi Shari Liftoach Petach. Can you open up a neder? Neder mochiach hefech meoto petach. That the neder is exactly opposite of the petach. Shekol ikara neder. The main thing of the neder, loya ela sheim tavor al da'ato tasir behanato. That if she violates his mind, she violates his thing of marrying her to her family, then she can't have anah. So now the petach, the opening is, if I would have known. What do you mean? That's the neder. That's exactly the question. So the Ran is just explaining the Gemara's question, and the Gemara's answer was, well, we brought a braita that's similar to it, that it does work. How do we answer that though? Let's see the next one. Yes, it works. Ve'atanya ma'aseh be'echad. Alma, you see from here, afilu ki agavna patchinan. Even in such cases, we do open up. Even meaning, so yeah, we do open up. Now the Ran's going to continue with the following question. This is something similar to what we maybe had before. V'im tomar, if you're gonna ask, umay matmehinan mikara. What's the Gemara's question in the first place? Umi shari hachi. Is this case allowed? Uma benzo lenidre ziruzin. What's the difference between this case and nidre ziruzin? How we opened up this perek. Nidre ziruzin is basically to mezarez, to hasten someone, which is exaggeration type of neder, to move the person. What was the original case? Buying and selling. This guy says, I'm making a neder, I'm not going lower than 4. And this guy says, I'm making a neder, I'm not paying more than 2. Really, we said the guy with the 4, his intention was to get to 3. His intention was for him to go to 3. So when they said 4 and they said 2, they really meant 3 and 3, and they meet at 3, and it works out. And those neders, we say, you don't even need a petach. It's not really a neder, it's an exaggeration. It's just to get everyone ziruzin. So to over here, so the Gemara wants to ask, so the Ran is saying, why did we say over here, is this even allowed? If we see that when Abaye went to Rav Yosef tells him back, if you would have known she would have actually done that, what do you mean? Then he said, no. That means you didn't think she would have done that, and therefore it's like an exaggeration. I'm barring you from, don't ever talk to me again if you do this. And she actually did it. He said, okay, no, I don't mean not to talk to me again. Okay, fine, I didn't think you were going to do it. So it's like an exaggeration. So it's just to get her not to do it, to actually scare her, but now that she did it, I want to back out of that. So maybe this is compared to that case. And why over here are we asking, how could you do such a thing? This is compared to that case where I didn't have in mind 4, I had in mind 3. So I didn't have in mind that she's actually going to take her to marry her off. If I would have known she would have done that, I wouldn't have made the neder. So that's the Gemara that's the Ran is asking.
The next line is going to be more complicated.
What, the next line of the Ran?
No. of the Mishnah. Like,
Yeah, the Mishnah is not for today. Don't worry.
Never had.
So yeah, exactly. That's for tomorrow. So the Gemara, so the Ran says, "Vim tomar, my matmihinan meikaro mishariachi, ma ben zul neder ziluzin dematnitin." Of our Mishnah, other Rabba, hayal lomar shaneder mutar me'elav kenach dematnitin. The neder, you could have said the neder is you don't even need a way to open it up because it's just it's just a neder for kind of pushing her to not do it. And as she did, I didn't realize she's actually going to do it, and that's it. And that's not what I had in mind. Yesh lomar. The Ran answers, it's not comparable. Why? The matnitin and pi velibo shavin. The case of the Mishnah, the guy's mouth and heart are not equal. Meaning my mouth says 4, my heart says 3. So those are not equal. Not the buyer, not the seller. I say 2, but I mean 3. So שלעולם לא היה דעתו של מוכר שלא לפחות מן הסלע, לא דעתו של לוקח שלא יוסיף על השקל. They never had in mind what they're saying. They had in mind something else. That's why that neder is allowed. But this case, Abaye's actual mind was to forbid her from any pleasure. If she went against his condition, and against his mindset. It's not called nidre ziruzin. See, that's the big difference. The big difference is, in the case of the buyer and seller, they said one thing with their heart meant something else. Over here, the guy said what he meant. Now the Ran explains, so what's the petach? That just the fact that if he didn't think he would have went against his word. And now that she went against his word, that's enough to open up. Because he didn't have in mind that she would have do such a thing. Also in the Mishnah earlier, we saw something similar. If the buyer and seller would have stood to their word, no, I really mean 4, no, I really mean 2, I don't mean 3, then their word would have stood. Maybe you could say, even in the case of when each one's really sticking to form, really sticking to do, you could have said, we could open them up, that the same type of thing. If you really would have known that the guy was going to be so strong on 4, so strong, would you have made the neder? Said no, so then that is an opening. So it seems like over here, it's not compared to the original case of our Mishnah, but we want to say that it's, I wouldn't have thought that the person would have done it. And that now the person actually did it, then that is in itself a petach. One second, the Ran has another question to answer.
Maybe also because he regretted immediately when she made that.
When she actually did it right away.
Because if he actually started filling in the net, then he actually needs a Nedarim because he's already
fulfilling the neder. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe it was right away.
It seems like in both cases, like, oh my gosh, she actually went to Ole Regel. She actually went to go marry off her daughter. Like, what do I do now? I didn't think that was going to happen. A very good point. Very good point. Let's see. We have a couple more minutes. Let's see the rest of the run. Vim tomar, if you say, what's the difference now between this case, our Gemara, and the case of, if you remember, we had a case of a guy says, come eat at my house, come eat at my house. And the guy said, no, I don't want to eat there. And he's like, I'm not even going to drink a little drop of water, I'm not going to have from your house. And we said that neder actually is, you could still drink a little, you can't have a meal there, but you could, because he was just exaggerating. Like, I can't stop to have a whole meal. I'll take a little drink. So, the Amar Rabbi Eliezer Min Yaakov, that case was a case of a little bit of exaggeration. Ve'atam piv v'libo shavin. But over there, though, the guy's mouth and his heart was equal. She'arotzeh sheyochal imo chavero. Va'afilu hachri amrina denidri ziruzin havu v'sharu memela. So, the guy's mouth and heart was equal. He says, I don't want to eat there. She'arotzeh sheyochal imo chavero. Va'afilu hachri amrina denidri ziruzin havu. Why was piva libo shavin? Why was the mouth and the heart equal? He says, I don't want to eat there. He really didn't want to eat there. He really didn't want to eat there. So his mouth and thing were equal, but we still say it was an exaggeration because I guess not to the level of the water, the little bit of water, a little bit of food. So is that comparable to our case, where here also the mouth and his heart are equal? It's not comparable. There, the case was you could see that it was to tell his friend, because he said in an exaggeration. I'm not even going to drink a little thing from you. You could tell that that's an exaggeration. Meaning, also the case was that I promise I'm never going to eat at your place again. It's not like what did the guy do to deserve a promise like that? You're never going to eat at his place again because he offered you to come inside and eat. That's not like, so you see, obviously it was an exaggeration. Like you guys leaving to work, come inside, eat. Say, come on. I promise I'm making a net. I'm not going to eat. I got to go to work. So you can see that I just offered you to come to my house. That deserve now. You're never going to come to me again. Obviously, it's an exaggeration. But in the story of the daughter of Abaye, the wife of Abaye, the Ika Kpeda Tve, according to this story, it's obviously Abaye has a reason to want to bar his wife. Because this is a talking about marriage over here. It's a serious thing. Obviously, if he says, I don't want you to marry from her family, he has a reason for it. So when he says, I don't want you to benefit from you, it's obviously a serious thing. So it's not an exaggeration at the onset. Therefore, it makes sense to say that he actually had in mind to make a neder against his wife. It wasn't just to exaggerate. Therefore, you need a petach. You can't just say, it was an exaggeration, so the whole neder's off. You need a petach. And the neder doesn't go away on its own. Actually, the opposite. We ask ourselves, how do we even open up with such a petach? But so to compare it to a ziruzin case where you don't even need a petach, no, that's not. But you need a petach. And then we say, okay, so the petach over here is because, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe she actually did it. And now I'm stuck. Like, what do? I thought that I'm going to be able to convince her by saying, you're never going to benefit from me, whatever. And as Zev pointed out, that it seems like it's right away in both cases. It wasn't like they lived like this for a year and then they're like, hey, you know what? It's really hard on me now that I'm not benefiting from you, whatever. Let's undo this. It seems like it happened right away. Okay, so these cases are not compared to the earlier case in our Gemara. That was the Ran's point over here. And it therefore does need a petach. And we see from this Gemara, very interestingly, that the petach of the neder itself, like she actually went to order the regel, and now you want to open a petach based on if I would have known she would have actually done it. Yeah, it could still be a petach because I didn't think she would have done it. And that you're coming right away to undo it. Okay, that brings us to the end of the shiur. My apologies again for starting late. And we will start the Mishnah tomorrow night.
Question.